So my name's Ramita Navai. I'm a foreign correspondent and I've spent the last 11 years writing for newspapers generally or making documentaries. So I was the Tehran correspondent for the Times for 3 years, and then I worked on a Channel 4 documentary series called Unreported World. Generally I cover human rights abuses, and I like working within closed societies, closed communities, in trickier countries, on access-driven, trickier stories is what I love doing. And I've spent the last 10 years either working, living, travelling to Iran.
What drives you personally to those stories? Why an interest in those?
On a really basic level, human connection. So the connection you get when somebody is entrusting you with a piece of information, and also when someone is entrusting you with their life story, and the feeling you get when you are their voice, because essentially people in so many situations that I cover do not have a voice.
And tell me some of the places that you have been and seen.
God, I've reported from over 30 countries. So, you know, countries where women face spectacular difficulties in day-to-day life. So I've covered honour killings in Turkey, women in prisons and the state of women's affairs in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan I also covered child drug addiction. Zimbabwe, I worked on a story exposing blood diamonds and Mugabe's links to one of the biggest diamond fields in the world. I've worked in Syria, I've worked in lots of African countries, in Central America. Central America and Latin America is really interesting. It's one of the most dangerous places, I would say, that I've worked. You kind of think of war zones, and I've worked in quite a lot of tricky countries. Actually, when you're working with gangs, young 12, 13-year-olds who carry around guns, and you're hearing firefights at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's quite unsettling in kind of seemingly developed, you know, sometimes prosperous countries.
Are there sort of principles almost of war reporting? Is there sort of...
I don't see myself as a war reporter at all. I happen to work in countries where there is conflict. For me, the most interesting and important stories in countries where there is conflict are always the human stories. For me, I think there has to be someone that's covering the front line, but the bang bang, as journalists like to call it, is not what's interesting for me. I always want to hear from the people who are most affected, and the people who are either left behind, who are struggling, whose families are being persecuted, who are fleeing, or who are being killed, rather than concentrate on the logistics and mechanics of the conflict itself. Obviously there's a space for that, and that's really important. But it's the real on the ground grassroots stuff that I love doing.